sure to do it. Don't wait for the perfect time because really the time is now. No matter what, the time is now. This is how we started the platform. The platform didn't start when things were too great, but deep down inside I knew it was the right time to get started in that dark season. Remember, there's a lot of gems whenever you're stressed out, when you're going through so much. It's a lot that you can actually get someone else through. And the whole point is that when you break through, whenever you get past obstacles, you have to get the rest through, right? Anyone that you're helping. Of course, you always got to save yourself, right? Because you can't leave yourself behind. But the whole purpose of what you go through is not only to gain the wisdom and the experience, but it's also to get the other people through, to get everyone else that you're going to help eventually in the future. Just waiting for Pastor Carlos to get connected with us. I see he's on the backup account, so he should be in the primary soon. But once again, episode 66, we are on a weekly basis every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast. Don't mind my voice. It's been an interesting 3 days. Been recovering from a cold and congestion. Was heavily congested, man, and just been fighting through. Thank God for those ginger shots, for the tea, and all those remedies that's been keeping me going, Obviously, I still have the symptoms, but it hasn't held me down, not once. But you can definitely hear it in my voice for those who connect with us. I sound way different today, so... All right, let's see. There we go. Pastor Carlos is sending a request.
Little bro, what's going on?
There we go. How you doing, Pastor Carlos? What's
That's what's
going
up.
on?
That's what's up. It's a blessing to be connected with
Good,
everybody
good,
tonight,
good.
man. It's good to see your face, little bro.
Likewise, man. Likewise.
Yeah, for sure.
Mutual. Just give me a few seconds to see what's going on with the earpiece.
While he figures out the earpiece, thank you to everybody who's joining us tonight. It truly is a blessing. Hope that you guys have had a good week, that you made it through this week. I know some of us have had easier weeks. Others have probably had crazier weeks, but I know God has you. So definitely, don't forget while he's hopping on and fixing the earpiece, don't forget that you can share the service, or rather share the live. Excuse me. I'm like in Sunday mode right now. Go ahead, share the live. You can do so. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the little paper airplane right there. You press on that. You can send it to people. You can put it on your stories. Whatever you want to do, you can go ahead and do that and let others know. Allow this to be a blessing for others, because we're sure that tonight's episode is going to go ahead and bless y'all. If you got questions, feel free to put it in the comments box right down here, right down there. Put that into put your comment in. If you got questions, you got something to say, go ahead and drop that in there. And if you want to keep it anonymous, as usual, we have the little icon right here, the little speech bubble with the question mark. That will allow Jay Mejia to be able to see the questions, be able to read it anonymously without mentioning who it's from, your question and your comment. We'll be able to go ahead and deal with that, mention what it is that you want to put out there. And just remember, there's never a bad question. There's never a bad comment. It's whatever, we just know that God is putting something out there. So allow yourself to be able to do that. Know that there's no judgment on our side. And we know that if you're putting it on there, it's because you want to keep it anonymous, and we respect that 100%. So please feel free to do it there. And like we mentioned each and every week, if you have something to share, maybe you got a testimony, maybe you want to hop on the live, to share a testimony, share a comment, ask a question, begin a dialogue, whatever it is that you feel is the reason why you want to go ahead and hop on. We speak about this almost every week. God may have directed us to be able to, to start this platform, that this was a time, but it does not mean that it is our platform. We know that he's going to use many of you via testimony, dialogue, conversations, everything that we got going on here to be able to bless others. So we hope that, that you'll take that for what it is, which is legit. No judgment or anything. We're just here to have conversations, and ultimately we're here to build people up. That's the reason for the platform. So, we invite you guys to go ahead and do that.
Definitely, big bro.
It's all good.
For looking out what I got this whole situation fixed.
So here we are for episode 66. Let's get started for episode 66. So for those who are now joining us or are here watching us for the first time, by the way, big shout outs to everyone who's watching us on YouTube and Facebook, by the way. Really appreciate everyone who's taking the time to be connected and to listen in, who's able to join on a weekly basis, to listen to the different topics, engage in the chat, joining the live to give their testimony. It really does mean a lot because, like I said before in the beginning of the episode, you never know who's looking up to you, right? There's people out there looking up to you. There's people counting on you. And the more testimony you put out, it's definitely powerful. It's a huge message for anyone who's listening, because there's a lot of people going through it right now. There's a lot of people who go through different situations, who are feeling, who are going through conditions, and you name it. There's people going through it in general. And the more they hear about others' testimonies, the more comfortable they feel with their situation, right? No situation is comfortable, no reason to be comfortable with, but sometimes I'm sure we've all been there in the past where you thought you were the only one going through a specific situation, or you were afraid to speak to someone because of how they were going to look at you, right? Because you felt shame, fear, embarrassed, whatever it was. But the more people get together, the more conversations take place, the more we can understand each other and help each other along the way, which is most important, right? We all go through it, right? We have to admit there's people out there that it's so hard for them to actually accept that. It's hard for them to admit it. It's hard for them to even express it, right? Because they may think they have a certain image, and if they open up and they start having these type of conversations, people are going to look at them different, or they're going to lose the amount of following they have, or people are going to change the way they think about them, or, I won't have that successful image anymore. Listen, regardless of whatever stage you're at, successful or not, everyone is going through it. If you follow up, I rarely follow up on the news, very rare. Can't even remember the last time I actually sat down to listen to the news. Anything that I come across is like if I see it on a post or if someone brings it up in conversation. But we all see what's happening in the world in general, right? The war that's taking place, Ukraine and Russia. We see what's happening between China and the U.S. We see everything that's happening, right? The economy, the bank crisis. So what does that mean for us? For us, times are going to get real tough, right? So we have to prepare ourselves ahead of time. And how do we do that? Is to have a plan or multiple plans, depending on what that is. Because we never know. I mean, we see what's happening with inflation. Prices are going up. We see what's been happening with the car market, housing market, right? We see prices are going up, but people are losing their jobs, or people aren't getting paid enough. So now what does everything I just finished mentioning bring into our life, into all our lives? Stress, worry, insecurity, paranoia, right? There's a list that continues. I mean, I have a whole list, but there's a lot of things that can happen, and it can affect us extremely. And we have to be very careful, because there's a lot of people out there spending crazy money that they shouldn't be spending. There's a lot of people out there not disregarding what's happening in the world because it's not affecting them in the moment. Now, hopefully it doesn't ever affect anyone, but eventually it will, right? These problems will come knocking at your door. Regardless, God forbid, if you lose your job tomorrow, God forbid if you're not making the same amount because they had to cut back in hours. God forbid if, the cash flow you had this week is not going to be the same for the next few weeks or a few months. We have to prepare ourselves. So why not prepare ourselves ahead of time and not wait for the problem to come to us? Now, what this does to us, it creates stress. It does create problems within you, within yourself, within your household. And, arguments tend to happen because of the level of stress you're experiencing at the time. It's so much that, hold on a second. Metatron, what's up? Hello, audio is good and bad. Sound like the mic is covered with something.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
would
think
that
it's
be me
your
speaking?
speak now, bro.
Try
A
to
million
move
times
this.
better. Yeah, a lot better.
How's the audio now? How's the audio? Okay. All right. Thank you. So I hope that everything I just finished saying
Yeah, it was
was
understandable. It
kind
was
of
just
clear,
like
or
getting in and
was
out.
it
So
was it good,
but
or
you could understand it. You could understand it though.
in and out? Okay, it was choppy. Okay, but there's so much happening, and we really got to get ready for what's coming, right? Because this is nothing compared to what's ahead of us. So if you're watching us on this platform, if you're listening in, please prepare yourself. Look through your expenses. Look through that plan that you have. Look through those habits that you have. Start questioning yourselves, like when it comes to buying things, right? Is it really necessary? Was understandable, everything, but now it's good. Okay, thank you, bro. Thank you for putting that out there, man. I appreciate you, and thank you for joining. So it's just so much taking place, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because I'm sure there's a lot of people going through it right now. There were already people going through it post pandemic, right? There were a lot of people who weren't working. They were collecting unemployment. Eventually, unemployment ended, and then people were started rushing to get jobs, and then the jobs weren't really available, and it took time to find a job. But what happens when it takes time for you to work towards stability? You probably piled on debt, right? Piled up some debt. That sets you back. But then when you finally have a job, you still got bills coming your way, plus the debt, right? So we have to be very careful with how we moving forward. But aside from the finance, because I don't want to focus on the finance, I want to focus on the mental state, the emotional state, the spiritual state that we're going to be in, because that's the critical part, right? The finance is definitely critical as well. But the worst part is when you're not right in the mind, when you have so much stress, when you're going through so much where you can't even think straight, you're not even able to function properly. There's people that fall into depression. There's people that experience anxiety. They're not able to function properly. So they're very limited as to what they're able to do, right? The last thing we need is to give our attention to the attacks that we're receiving in the moment, right? That could be directly or indirectly. And the attacks that we receive is the problems that come our way, the obstacles that get in our way. Haven't you noticed that when you want to get so much done, when you finally decide to turn your life around, or you finally made it to a point where things should be going smooth, there's always a huge obstacle that comes and knocks you over. Like, hey, here I am. And it makes it seem almost impossible to get through that obstacle, right? But it's all about the focus that you're giving, the focus that you're giving. Are you going to give that obstacle the attention? Or are you going to give the solution, which is right behind that obstacle, right? To get through it. And we're living in interesting times. As I mentioned briefly in multiple episodes, we're living in interesting times, and it's very, very critical. I don't care who you are, you're going through it. I don't care how much money you got in the bank, you still got to be careful. And we see what's happening with the bank crisis. We saw how a few weeks ago there were people trying to withdraw their money because of what was happening in these banks. So now how is that person going to feel when they are attached to the dollar amount, whatever they hold? They're not worried about their mental health, the emotional, spiritual. They're like, I'm good, I'm rich. Or I'm good, I have a good fund. But what if someone or something strips it away? What are you going to do? You got to
few days now, which you don't know what's going to happen with the funds, and you're hoping that the banks are going to cover it, that it's insured, right? You're going to hope. But what are you going to do in those days? Are you going to feel like you're losing yourself? Remember, it's all about how.
And I want to add there real quick, little bro, just to bring the reality of the situation, because a lot of people can think, oh, with some of these banks, it was mostly businesses that were tied to those banks that were affected, and as a result, it hits the payroll, et cetera, right? But I want you guys to understand that it's not too far-fetched that it can go ahead and hit directly home, only because, a lot of, if you have the mindset of, oh, no, but that would never happen to me because it's, it's got the insurance, and on top of that, I'm just a regular person, I'm not a business. Well, then go tell that to some countries, like, for example, in Russia, not too long ago, just a few months ago, where you had people lining up around the block at every single bank trying to get their money out, and they were being told by the bank that you can't take your money out. The bank wasn't saying that you couldn't use your money, but the bank was saying you can't take your money out, which, some people want the security of, I've had this banknote in my hand, you know what I'm saying? Which, for those that don't know, that's what the dollar is called. In reality, those are banknotes, in different countries. Some of them do refer to them as banknotes as well. So I want you to have that understanding that some people want it physically because if something goes down, they have it in hand. So it's very realistic that it can come here, because the Russian economy was, a lot of people would say, just as strong as the one over here. You know what I'm saying? Nothing stops it from a meltdown. So I just want to add that there, because I know some people have it in their head that something like that can never happen. And it's just, I want to bring the realism of, yes, it can, because if you were to go to speak to a citizen of many of these countries that have had that kind of stuff happen before, Venezuela being one, Russia being another. I've spoken to people that that were in Venezuela when it happened, and they were like, they had no clue. Much worse. And those people were exactly those people out there, didn't it? I spoke to those people, and they were like, listen, things were great. I had a business. My husband had a business. This is true story, something that I heard out of somebody's mouth, actually the mouth of their kids. My mom and dad, they had a business. Everything was good. I believe they were going to private school. They pretty much had everything that they wanted. Everything was great. And from one day to the next, they lost everything. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean like lost it like, oh, we got our house took or anything like that. No, their money was made worthless. Literally, it was made worthless. It was not worth not a penny. You know what I'm saying? Or, I mean, that's exaggerating, but you get my drift. It was like, it no longer had anywhere near the amount of value, and it became a thing of like, yo, where we were good and we were balling, now we can't afford anything because this isn't worth anything because of decisions from a government. And the same thing was going on in Russia. And all of a sudden you have banks that are like, nope, sorry, you can't take your money out. Why? Because you have to think, banks have this insurance, right? I know we're not going to focus all on financial, but I just want to bring reality to the situation, not because you need to worry for tomorrow, but because some people are not educated on it. Exactly, because of where we're going with it. But
we have to mention this.
You need to understand it because of the very simple thought that a bank may have the insurance and your funds may be there. That's not the problem. But the thing is, if people start withdrawing, like imagine if all those people lining up around blocks in Russia had all taken out their money, or in Venezuela had all taken out their money, right? What would happen? The economy would collapse because now there is no money anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And that in and of itself would be a problem, because if the banks don't have money, there's you and I have learned this here over the last couple of years, especially. There's a lot of movement on a daily basis between the government and the banks. So the money does not remain in the bank. There is a lot of money that the bank is receiving, the central bank as a whole, like, for example, JP Morgan Chase as a whole, JP Morgan Chase is receiving every single day, and I believe multiple times a day, they're receiving money from the government. And then, usually in the evening, they send a certain amount back. And the next day, they're receiving money from the government. And it's going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So imagine if one of those two parties, and not just one of those two parties, but imagine that happening multiple times, no longer has the money there. And the other party is expecting the money to go back. Now, let's say that the country is expecting, the money to come back, the federal bank, which isn't even owned by the United States. That's a story for another day. Let's just say that all of a sudden they're expecting the banks to send back money that evening, and all that money was withdrawn, the bank's gonna be like, yo, where's the money at? And you know what happens when a country doesn't have the federal bank that they can go and get money from? Collapse. That's where everything collapses. So it's very important for y'all to understand that this is a real thing. This is realistic, and that's how it happened in other places. But continue, little bro.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's so much. I mean, think about being used to a certain status, right? Whether you were in the middle class and eventually you're in the lower class now because you lost that income you were making, the job, or there's people out there who lose it all, right? There's people who are able to recover it back due to whatever network they're in, or connections, the daily grind that gets them to that point again, to the point where they don't give up and just keep going. But just think about being stripped away from that status or that dollar amount. How are you going to feel, right? When you have a specific amount and you're doing good with your finances, you feel comfortable. You feel like you have breathing room. You feel like you're able, you're flexible, you work smarter, not harder, right? For those who starting at the bottom, which we all start at the bottom, we're grinding heavy. There's most of us, we have 2 jobs, 3 jobs. There's a lot of people out there grinding heavy. So like that, they can invest in a home. That way they can have cash flow.
Yep.
Or they invest in a business. That way they don't have to do the 2 or 3 jobs, right? We're all out here grinding. We're all out here grinding. So just think about going from that to being stable to not being stable anymore, right? That does affect us mentally and emotionally, right? It does affect us to the point where we start worrying. We start creating situations in our own homes because of the situation that we're going through, right? We seem to worsen a lot of situation because of what we're going through in our mind, what we're feeling inside. There's people out there who go through it and they just shut down because they're tunnel vision. So they should be focusing in family, but they can't focus on the family right now because they're worried about, I didn't hit the daily goal today. What's going to happen tomorrow? Is it the same thing? Or this been a bad week? Or this is a bad month? Or we're cutting it close? Or, how are we going to pay the bills? So now your mind is on overworking mode. It's constantly thinking. I'm sure you guys have been there to the point where you fall asleep with thinking of a master plan, right? For the next day to get things done. And when you wake up, it's like, when do you have time to rest? You might even be thinking about it in your sleep. You might even dream about it because it's so much. It's so much that we go through. And we have to be very careful, what we put our focus on. And I've been guilty of this. I've been guilty of whenever I go through a situation, I tend to forget about what's going on around me. And I have to focus on this. And this is it right here. So I don't have time for you. I don't have time for this. And I'm just tunnel vision, and it's not the right way to be. It's really not the right way to be. And of course, if you have someone, if you're single, then you don't have much to worry about. But if you have a family, how are your kids gonna feel? How's your partner gonna feel? Neglected. How are they gonna feel? Like, oh, you're not giving them the attention that they want, that they need, and that creates problems, right? So now you're having a problem over here, but you're creating 3 others on the other end, right? So it can get overwhelming. So the reason why we're discussing this today is because I wanted to bring up that we have to be extremely grateful, extremely thankful, and no matter what's happening in this world and what's happening in us and what's happening in our household or just in general, to practice gratitude, right? We need methods to learn how to cope and manage whatever's taking place in or outside of us, right? So how do we do that? What are you grateful for? Are you grateful like for your health? Thanking God that you're healthy, thanking God that your family is healthy, that you still have that roof over your head. Yeah, you're going through it right now mentally, but are you thankful for that roof over your head? Are you thankful for those meals? It doesn't matter what type of meals. Meals are meals that you're able to eat on a daily basis, that you're able to feed yourself and your family on a daily basis. all while you're trying to turn your life around and your family's life around and the whole situation around. Are you practicing gratitude on a daily basis from when you wake up to when you fall asleep? That doesn't mean that you're never going to be worried. That doesn't mean that you may not feel insecure. That doesn't mean that you should be behaving or acting like nothing is wrong. No, embrace your situation, understand what's happening. If you're not in the mood, that's fine, that's normal. But always remind yourself what to be thankful for, grateful for. Whenever, for those who are going through anxiety, I've already mentioned for the past 3 episodes, it feels like I'm promoting cold showers, but it really helps. Like, it really helps. When you step into that bathtub and you turn that cold water on, just let it run for about 1 to 2 minutes. If you can take a full-blown cold shower for 5 to 10 minutes, great. But if you're not able to handle that, do 1 to 2. It's equivalent. Do 1 to 2 minutes, and you'll see how those problems will literally go away. It'll literally go away, because in that moment, you're not thinking about any problems. You're thinking about the cold, ice cold water that's dropping on you right now, right? Your body goes into shock. Your body goes into shock, and it feels like it resets your mind and just in general. Big bro, I remember I brought this up to you, and I was like, make sure you
Little
try
bro,
it. Trust me.
yeah, I'll be honest with you. You and I haven't had a lot of time to talk, but with what's going on, the last 2 weeks have been ridiculous in terms of stress levels and attacks and everything like that. And I've had to. I remember I was there, and I was about to get out, and I was like, man, you know what? Let me just try that cold shower the little bro was talking about. And it was like, man, I felt much better afterwards. I don't know what it was about it, but I felt a whole lot better afterwards. And no lie, I mean, it was a game changer. It is a game changer. So I was just laughing when you talked about it, because it was like, I mean, that's one of the truest things that I've heard recently. And I know it's helped me. It's helped me tremendously. It has helped me tremendously.
Yeah. No, and it's amazing the feeling that you get right after, right? And funny enough, like when I started this, I was like, you know what? Is it really going to work? Or is it going to be every single time? How many times am I going to have to hop in the shower to make sure that all these problems go away? And really, you'll have a great day after that, right? No matter how bad it gets, but it's just your focus is going to be aligned with whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. It doesn't mean that a cold shower is going to work miracles and it's going to make things happen. No, it's not. It's just going to keep you focused and keep you aligned.
I think really what it is that
you have to get
I don't know
what,
and afterwards, it's funny after you mentioned it. My wife ended up sharing something about it too. Like, she ended up coming across something that had to do with it too. And I think it has something as well to do with, like, when you do that, there's a change in the blood flow and the way that the blood flows. It just ultimately leads to it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And when you have that,
it decreases.
It's just like your body just reacts different, because there's a different way in which your body's pumping that blood flowing through, and that, I don't know. I don't know if that eliminates stress or tension or what it does, but it does something. It does something.
Yeah. It definitely does.
Yep.
It definitely does. The anxiety increases your blood flow, right? So when there's blood rushing through, it's like, it's a lot of pressure. Now, the cold shower decreases your blood flow. And that's why the anxiety feeling goes away. And I'm telling you, like you said, it's a game changer. And, I've been doing it now for a few weeks. I would say like 2 months now. I've been doing it for about 2 months, but I wanted to make sure to keep it consistent, right? Because I didn't want to speak on something that I haven't been doing on a daily basis. And it's been working ever since, and I love the feeling that I get from it. I know it can help a lot of people out there. And especially, listen, what we need right now in these times is our mental health, our health. It's what we need. You know, for people who are going through depression, what I was going to mention, you know, right before you started mentioning the whole with the increase and decrease of the blood flow, for anyone that goes through depression or constant anxiety, the cold shower would work. You know, how many people out there, you know, are so overwhelmed that they have so much to get done throughout the day, but because of all that stress that they're feeling, they shut down and they prefer to lay back or lay down in bed, and they're unable to get out of bed because of that depression that's kicking in or that anxiety. You know, I've been there. I'm sure you've been there, big bro. And I'm sure there's many people out there who's had these moments where, again, you're unable to function because of how you're feeling. You don't even want to step outside. You don't want to have any conversations with anyone, which is a huge mistake because you never know what someone can say to you that can actually help you snap out of it, help you get out of whatever situation you're in, help you get out of that mental prison that you're in. You know, there's been many times that I felt in the past that I must say, with the 360 change that I've made throughout the years, how I've missed out on so many opportunities because of how I felt. How I felt in the moment was all lies. I would see people a certain way or see a place a certain way, or because I didn't feel right, I didn't feel like I didn't belong in that place. I didn't want to affect other people. I didn't want my vibe or energy to rub off on other people. You know, I was basically protecting others. But at the end, that's exactly what I needed in order for me to step out of that state that I was in mentally and emotionally. There's events that I didn't go to because of how insecure I was. Obviously, because of all the, you know, it could have been the how I was feeling that day. It could have been my finances. It could have been multiple things. There was multiple things that I used to go through in the past that prevented me from having conversations with people, from meeting new people, from stepping into new spaces, you know, opening up my mind. That's why I would always go to the same things, right? I never let myself expand in general. And it's crazy. Not many can admit that. Not many can accept and actually put it out, right? Because they feel like it's weakness, and it's not. If you speak on it, it's because obviously that's not you anymore. You were there. You don't want to see other people there, mentally, emotionally, and physically. You don't want to see anyone in that stage. And all you want to do is continue to grow, continue to improve, not only your life, but others. And these times, we can easily relapse and fall, no matter what your status used to be financially or physically. You can easily relapse and fall into a condition, you know, especially now. And this is why as soon as we opened up this episode, I'm like, you know, let's get ready for what's coming, because we don't know exactly what it is, but we have somewhat of an idea. Again, for those who follow up on the economy. And you all see when you go shopping how prices have gone up, right? It's funny what Fat Joe said once: yesterday's price is not today's price. Like, that's real. It's happening live. But yeah, it's so much, big bro. And you know, it's something that I thought that we have to talk about, because aside from that, the main thing today is, no matter what, be grateful, be thankful, and practice gratitude on a daily basis so you don't fall in that trap.
Thank you. Yeah, no, you're on the money, bro. 100% on the money. I'm going to read to you guys a few things, because it's important for you guys to have an understanding as well, like what the word says about it, because it's really, we continue to see week after week, especially those of y'all who have been rocking with us for a while. You continue to see week after week the truth behind, like, when the word comes out, it's there to back it up. And we're seeing those things, and then some people come in afterwards, they're like, wow, you know, what you read there, I know about that. And we continue to talk that, knowing, you know, that knowledge is power, right? And at the same time, there's a verse that says, my people perish because they have a lack of knowledge. You know, they don't know. So it's like they get all up in their own feelings, which that's how the enemy hits you. He hits you in your feelings, right? To get you to do something dumb, which is going to make you make bad decisions, right? And in this, little bro, I know people have been waiting as well for the announcement that I've been putting out. And I think this is going to be a perfect segue to get into that so you can see. First of all, I want y'all to understand, what does the word say? And I know I say this again, every few weeks I touch upon this theme. What scripture says about things when you're talking about, oh man, I'm worrying about all these things. I'm worrying about this. I'm worrying about that. Here's all these issues that are coming up. Like I'm so worried about it. This is going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. And you start thinking about tomorrow, and you start thinking about the bill next week, and you start thinking about what happens next month and what happens if the prices get higher and all these other things, right? Again, the word says very clearly, don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about its own things. You have enough trouble today, okay? And I know there's some of y'all that feel what I'm telling you right now more than others, because some of you are like, man, I'm okay right now, but what happens if down the road? But there's some of us that are like, I just need to get past today. There's some people who are not even like paycheck to paycheck. There are some people that are just like, I just need to figure out how to grind and hustle for today. I need to survive today. And I think those people are understanding this scripture more than anybody else in this current point in time. Because if you're worrying about tomorrow, that person that's worrying about just today and getting past today can tell you, yo, I'm not even thinking about tomorrow. I need to get past today. I need to survive today. And surviving today for different people comes in different phases. Some of us are like, yo, I just need to make sure that I have enough to get through today, that I have enough for this bill that was due today, that there's no more wiggle room, that to go past the day, that there's food on the table, and I don't know how I'm going to grind it out. Maybe I'm going to grind it out this way or that way, but somehow I'm going to make moves to at least get food on the table for today, to at least keep the lights on, to at least do something. Some of y'all understand this more than others, because you can't worry about something that's 2 weeks down the road, because you're worried about surviving just today. Okay. So the mindsets are different for each person, but what the word ends up saying is, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's got its own worries. And if you don't believe that, I can tell you, if you don't believe it, there are people who worried about, let's say, man, all these bills and all this stuff at work and my kids and everything, and then boom, COVID hit, and everybody was like, everybody was in the same boat. So you had mortgage companies coming in, and landlords coming in, and the phone bill coming in, and all these different people being like, nobody's got money. I don't know how we're going to fix this, but we temporarily have to allow for people to be able to just survive. And all of a sudden, all those problems that all those people had pretty much disappeared, because you know what you were worried about now? You weren't worried about the phone bill. You weren't worried about your rent. You weren't worried about your mortgage. You weren't worried about the electricity. You were worried about not catching it and dying. That was your worry. You were worried about getting through today. You know what I'm saying? Talk about a mindset shift. And at the same time, one of the things that I've been dealing with here the last here in the last 2 weeks, somebody very close to me ended up is currently in the hospital fighting for his life. You think that person is now, and his family is thinking about all these bills and all these different things? No, they're thinking about, I just need to get through today. Why do I mention that? Because this person was fine, and then later on in the day wasn't fine. So this is to say, you could be stressed about work. Did you know that all this stress can lead to you having health issues? And eventually it can be to a point in which a health issue can become something so drastic, right? Because of the worry that you had, because of the stress levels that you had, now becomes long-term. You got people dealing with long-term health issues because they were worrying about short-term problems. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that short-term problems Like, you know, for example, if you're having trouble paying your mortgage, or you're having trouble paying your car, or you're worried about what's going on with your kid, or worrying, you know, about your marriage, I'm not talking about that that's a short-term issue, that it's just like, oh, just forget about it, and like that you're not dealing with it for months or years. But those are one day at a time issues, and you don't realize that if you let it overstress yourself, you're going to end up with a much bigger issue than that. Why? You're stressing about your kids. If all of a sudden your health isn't there, guess what? You don't got to worry about being stressed about your kids no more, because you let that stress get to such a point that you can no longer take care of yourself, probably. Or that marriage that you're so worried about can get to a point in which if you come down sick, believe me, that marriage may not even be your problem anymore. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, there are some people that leave the marriage once that person can't take care of themselves. So you were worrying about something that was probably so small in comparison to the bigger picture. You need to take care of yourself, and some people don't do that because they overwork themselves, they overstress themselves. Stop. I'm not telling you that you can't worry about things, like you shouldn't think about them and act like they don't exist. But sometimes you just got to be like, I got to worry about today. And little bro, I've spoken to you. I confide this in you, and I'm as a pastor, I find it very important to be transparent, because I know that a lot of pastors, a lot of people are not transparent. I need to be very transparent. And one of those things, little bro, I've told you before, there are days in which a piece of news comes in, or a call comes in, or this bill comes in, or that thing comes in, and it's like, I tell you, no, I'm not dealing with that today. I'm not. Why? Because it's not pressing today. Is this thing going to go away if I do something right now? No. It's not to say that I'm going to ignore it. It's to say that I can't do anything about it right now. So you start to realize the things that you can do something about right now and the things that you can't, And it's like, I'm not saying the stress levels are gone, but compared to where I was before, where I would worry a year before, no, I don't let that run my life anymore, because I live by what the word says, not worrying about tomorrow. Let it worry about itself, because it has its own problems. Every day has its own problems. And again, there's so many verses that talk about how God provides, if God would provide for ravens, if he provides for for the lilies in the field, if he goes and provides for the sparrows, how much more will he not provide for you? In fact, there's another verse that talks about, if us as parents, right, for those of you guys that are parents, if we know how to give good gifts to our children, and compared to the Lord, we're considered to be evil, right? How much more can the Lord give us, who's all good? You see what I'm saying? So of course he's going to take care of us. Now, taking care of us doesn't mean that it's in the way that you want. Taking care of you might be, I'm giving you everything that you need for today, so that your attention and your focus can be where it needs to be, and it may not be what you want to hear in the short term, but in the long run, it's going to make sense. And believe me, it's going to make sense. So you need to understand that. Lastly, one other thing that I want to, I love on the part of gratitude. We do these things, especially when we know that God's put something in our heart. Maybe I need to launch this business. Maybe I need to leave this job. Maybe I need to approach this differently. Maybe I need to change what I'm doing so I can spend more time with my kids and my spouse. Maybe I could do all these different things, right? I need you to understand, sometimes what God is calling you to do needs to be done in times where it's not ideal or convenient for you to do it. So you go and you do it, right? And the word itself says, whatever you do, do everything in the name of Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. So you're doing these things, expecting that he's going to do it. You're giving, you're doing it in his name. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do when you're calling me to leave this job. I don't know how I'm going to do when you're telling me to rearrange my schedule and spend more time with my spouse, or spend more time with my with my children, or how I'm going to do when you're telling me to cut off these things that are not good for me, leave these friendships. I don't know how I'm going to do. Stop worrying about that. Go do what he's calling you to do. Be like, in Jesus' name, somehow he's going to make this all work out, and give gratitude to the fact that he's supplying for you. Give gratitude for the fact that he's giving you direction. Give gratitude to the fact that he's making you do these things, because in those things, when you walk in the way that he wants you to walk, when you go and you do the things that he wants you to do, he provides in that. And this platform is a testimony to that. we have not been, and little bro, I'm sure you're willing to let me be transparent. We have not been in great situations, especially once we decided to go walk in what we were doing. It's like we were good until we decided to start walking what we were doing. And we've shared this before. So it's not a secret. You know, when God started to call me into the ministry, everything went downhill. It was like night and day. Everything went downhill. When little bro came and was like, yo, I think we need to do this. I feel that we need to do this. And it was not the opportune time to do it. We still did it. Even though we didn't have everything that we wanted, we still did it. And at the end of the day, it's not to say that the road hasn't been difficult, because I think unquestionably we can say that it has been. But at the same time, we know that somehow, some way, God is providing for us each and every day. Somehow, some way, we're seeing the blessing in the things that will happen. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, little bro, I don't want to speak for you. And, you know, of course, you can tell me if you disagree. It's not to say that everything is perfect, but there's certain things that would not have happened in our lives, or certain things that we would not have seen, that right now we're like, I would not trade that for anything. But if I had been walking the way that I had been walking, if I had not made that decision that I made, I probably wouldn't be there right now. And you can chime in.
No, I completely agree. And it's like I mentioned before in multiple episodes, every time now that I go through something, if I go through something, right, the way that I see it is, this is what I'm supposed to go through because of our assignment, our purpose, what we have, right? How are we able to speak, and why would you be listening to us if there's nothing that we can actually prove or actually have a testimony for, right? There's people out there. It's like whenever, have you ever came across these pages on your Instagram or Facebook where there's a life coach requesting you?
Which one? The one that will tell you they're somehow
like,
inside this big house and nice cars, and they got the beautiful kitchen and everything, and they'll be like, ever since I decided to do this, and you can tell that they're probably not older than 15, 16. Ever since my mentor so and so told me to do, I've been living my life. And do you want this master class on how to do this? It's like, my man, what are you the master of? Not nothing.
Yeah. The class usually costs $14.99, but you only get it for $3.99 if you sign up today, and all this other crap. There's things that we go through, and I'm okay with it. And I'm okay with putting it out there, because I don't have to sell a perfect image. I want to be as transparent as possible. That way I can continue to provide not only for myself and my family, but for everyone who's watching us. And, there's a lot of valuable lessons in these struggles. And that's something that I've learned. If you have conversations with coworkers out there, associates, friends, you'll know the ones that are covering stuff up.
You can tell.
None of your business, but the second you ask someone, hey, what's up, man? How's everything? How's everything been? Everything okay? And they always want to say, yeah, everything's great. Nah, like no problems over here. Are you good? You still going through it, or this and that and the third, because they always want to put the attention on the other person. When in reality, we all have our moments. And it's how we come out of these moments, right? We come out stronger. We come out wiser. There's a lot of people out there who fear struggle, who fear failure. And there's no reason to fear that at all. If anything, you should embrace it. You should be grateful for it, because not only are you putting more experience under your belt, you're able to lead others down a path where they can avoid those obstacles, right? Those puddles. Because eventually you're going to have people who are going to come to you for advice. Eventually you're going to have children. Eventually you're going to have to provide for others. You're going to have to provide for others, right? Unless you're planning to be selfish and keeping all the great
some people will do.
Yourself.
Exactly. Which some people will do, but that's not what you see here. That's
major
not what
blessings
you see here.
to yourself, which a lot of people are doing this. And it's not the right way to go, because the same way you keep a lot of things to yourself.
Man, I like where you're going with it. I like where you're going with it.
How are you able to help others grow? How are you able? Yeah. How are you?
By the way, if you're wanting to hear the announcement, just put some hearts in the chat. Put some claps in the chat. hands up in the chat, something. Let's continue it on, bro, but we'll hit it in a minute because I think that's exactly where we're going.
For real. Yeah, I mean, it's so much. And to be honest, like we were saying in the beginning, there's no perfect moment to make changes.
Yep.
The change starts today. We spoke about this 2 episodes ago. I believe it was episode 64. It all starts today. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for tomorrow. If you want to make those changes, it starts
Facts.
today. Because it's the only way you're going to see the change. How many times you can actually admit, myself, I can admit, I've always spoken about like, oh, you know, I know about this and this is actually a great idea, but I never implemented that idea. I never took the baby steps to get to that idea that I came across. Because it sounded so good to talk about it, but it was hard to be about it. So that's why in the most recent years, I chose the path to actually make things happen. To make things happen. To eliminate the complaints, eliminate the excuses. Because once again, we spoke about the complaining and the excuses. We have all the reason to do it. But what is that gonna help? How is that going to help us? How has that even helped you in the past? How?
Yep.
So what is it good for? You know, big boy, right before we get into that announcement,
go through those.
I think
messages. If you want, I can scroll through them easier here on the computer. Give me a second. Yeah, let me do that because I'm getting a better view out of it right now.
All right, go ahead, bro. I don't know why.
I think it's when you were messing. Yeah, it was when you took out when you were messing with the audio. I'll read it.
About the audio.
Metatron says, felt all that, feeling like my brain can't breathe sometimes. 100%. I understand that, bro. 100%. I understand that. And a lot of people feel that way. As we were talking about the whole thing with the banks and all that stuff and the financial systems, Metatron mentioned invaluable info. Unquestionably invaluable info. Again, you know, people sometimes, you know, don't know. The knowledge is a power and they're not aware of it. Let's see. Mejia de la Rosa, hey nephews, God bless you. Bendición, tia. It's a blessing to have you, man. Blessing to have you with the announcement that's coming here in just a minute or two too. That's it's gonna be awesome, tia. But bendición, tia, I really appreciate you. Metatron said, I'm just there, I'm trying to sleep. And I dream about that job or that plan. I think a lot of us can feel that way. You have that, you know, those sleepless nights and everything like that. You got a lot of things that are on your mind. Mejia de la Rosa said, our focus should be on Jesus. He is the one that wants to be in control. Metatron followed up. I'm upset with myself because I'm so busy mentally that I forget to be thankful. Metatron, I want to put this in you because I think that this is something that's going to be major. It's something that changes your life. Okay, it's easy to go and be upset with yourself because you're so busy, but I want you to understand that the enemy is the one that wants you to be busy, because what happens is when the enemy can make you busy, again, he knows where to attack. Every single person, you know, if you look at war, the enemy goes and he looks at the plans, right? They have a map out and they got this big map out and they go and they're like, okay, I can see the weak spots are here based on like the intelligence that I got. This is the open zone over here. This is the open zone over there. This is where they're weak at. So this is where I can hit them. So the enemy is always, you know, going to hit you where you are going to get hit the hardest. He's not going to try to hit you in an area that you're strong, because that would be a waste of time. He can't debilitate you in an area where you're strong. He can weaken you a little bit, but he does more damage if he can hit you in an area that you're weak and knock you out there, because then he can focus on the next weak zone and the next weak zone. And then all of a sudden you got a bunch of weak areas and you're trying to piece everything together, right? So just know he does that so that you can get away from the Lord and not have that relationship. And just know God knows that you're undergoing the struggles. The fact that you can come and be like, yo, I feel bad, I feel upset that I haven't been thankful. What the Lord calls that is repentance. That's a moment in which you go, I know I've been failing. I know I've been lacking in this, but I'm recognizing it. And God sees your heart and he's like, I know you don't want to do that, but you're getting hit this way. Now that you're coming back to your senses, it's a chance that you get. It's an opportunity that you have to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to change my mindset and I'm going to approach this differently. So just know, it's not anything to be upset about. Walk forward. Don't look backward, because the enemy is going to want to hit you backwards. He doesn't know your future. He can't affect your future that way, right? He only knows bits and pieces about, like, well, I know that they got a plan for hope and, you know, and all that, but I need to derail them from that. But I don't exactly know what's going to happen. So what does he do? He tries to hit you with your past. So don't look backwards, because moving forward, that's what's going to help to, you know, move forward. You know, just look at the forward. Look at the forward progress. Don't go back. There's nothing to look back on. So the fact that you're recognizing that today, just be thankful and move forward. There's going to be big movement in that. And huge progress, believe me. Mejia La Rosa said we experienced lots of attacks. Absolutely. The last 2 weeks, y'all understand why in a minute. Why that's, I can tell you that firsthand. Especially if we're Christian, because we are a threat to the enemy, and there we definitely are. God's a provider if you trust him. And yeah, I think after that, bro, we are good. Just people giving the hands, people giving the hearts. And I want to share with you guys again, you know, there is nothing for you staying stuck in a spot where you're not supposed to be and not moving forward in what God has for you. God will provide for you for a little bit, but at some point he needs you to move forward to what he has for you. Okay. And you're going to get the blessing in that. And I think some of y'all are already doing that, and you're seeing it, even though it's not perfection. It's like, man, there's certain things that I'm getting that I'm not even having to like work for, you know what I'm saying? Or I'm getting to value more what God is doing, or I'm seeing him provide in the efforts that I'm giving, because he does do that, you know? But I'm going to share with you guys, I can go ahead and very much talk about how this word is real, how all the stuff that we're talking about here is legit, because we've been going through it. You and I have been going through it, little bro. Every time that we walk forward in what we need to do, we've been going through it, but we see the blessing in it. Again, not perfection, but we see the blessing in it. So I will share with you guys the very next step in that blessing is something that God has been putting through, you know, has been putting together since February of last year. Okay, little bro, you know, it's been a process. You know that I've been listening. I've been waiting for God to go ahead and give the direction, right? And go step by step in everything. He's given the direction as of a few weeks ago. And we'll share with you the information that when little bro talks about that we go through these experiences, the transparency, and more importantly, what God goes ahead and provides, and we don't keep it to ourselves. We're not selling you anything. We're not coming with the masterclass. We're not telling you stuff from experience, and we're not telling you stuff that hasn't been revealed from the Lord and trying to keep it to ourselves and not having you be blessed. There is an extension of this that's going on. There is now another level of this that's going on, which is why when I can share that the last 2 weeks have been very difficult and the attacks have been insane. People that have been with me, I've had the benefit of having certain people that have been with me to be witness, to be like, yo, I've never seen somebody go through so many things as they're going through right now in just so many different areas unexpectedly. It's because there's a greater purpose, there's a greater mission, there's a greater blessing for people. So with that, I want to give you guys the news that I couldn't share with you guys before. I had to be very respectful to do everything in order with certain people. So people, you know, certain people would not get affected without knowing things ahead of time. But starting this Sunday, the Lord has started the ministry that he's called me to do. Refiners Church launches this Sunday, first service this Sunday. So if you're in the Houston area, you're welcome to go ahead and DM me. We're going to get you the information, but God has been blessing and setting that up. So Refiners Church is going to be another way that you're going to be able to continue to receive what God wants you to receive, with the transparency, the love, and everything else that he's trying to do to continue to help to build you up, because it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with my family. It has nothing to do with the people that he's been putting into place. It has to do with the fact that he is wanting to get people. He's wanting to build them up. He has so much more for you. And a lot of people haven't completely understood what God wants them to do. And right now is the time where he's saying, it's time to go get another group. It's time to go build more people. So there will be a point in which we start streaming it online. That's not the direction God has given me right off the bat. at least not initially. I don't know if that's going to be a week or two. I don't know if that's going to be a month or two. But if you are in the Houston area and you want to be part of it, if you want to come and receive, send me a DM. I'll get you the information. But it's starting. It's legit. Everything is good to go. Everything's correctly registered, not like a lot of churches that register incorrectly so they can steal your money and you don't know about it because they're doing shady stuff. It's legit being done here in person with the government, right? The government registering it correctly. Everything's legit. So you do get your tax return stuff so that you can go and get your, whatever you donated, you could claim it on your taxes and everything. Everything's 100% legit starting this Sunday. So if you want the information, go ahead and DM me. I'll get you the information. But soon enough, it's going to be something that will bless you online. So if you're outside of the Houston area, we will be blessing people online as well. It will be streamed at some point, but God has given an order in the sense of building up the community. You mentioned a great word, little bro, the community. He's setting up the community because you and I have talked about this before. What God has revealed that he wants to do is to be able to do this, to give to the community, to build the community that's around here. And eventually that will extend out first. So Refiners Church, March 26th, I believe is Sunday, little bro, right? DM me, I'll get you the information, but God is doing big things and we're excited for those that are in Houston, for those of y'all to receive here personally, first and foremost. And then when we go online, it's going to be crazy, but we know that you guys are going to go ahead and receive as well. So little bro, that's been something that unfortunately I haven't been able to share ahead of time with people. And the reasons why we wanted to do things in order, the way God has wanted us to do it correctly. But we know he's doing big things. We know he's doing big things. And the last 2 weeks, if y'all see the hair all, needing the cut, if y'all can see, like, I'm looking tired, the attacks have been crazy. But the attacks have been to take focus away and to possibly even say, don't do it on the 26th or push it back.
From what's coming.
You and I know, exactly. You and I know.
Postponing it.
Natural,
that's not going to happen.
This is not the time to be doing this at all. But we know what God has called and God provides. So we know that something big is happening and we're excited for you guys to be a part of it. First and foremost here. And then whenever God decides to put it on, to start putting it online, we're going to get all that set up, but it's going to be a blessing and we can't wait for y'all to be blessed with that. So with that said, it's even more important for you to understand that where we've said before that we're here 24/7, that we're here, you can hit us up on a DM and reach out and that you can legit receive. Now with it being an official thing, that's legal and everything else, it's the calling. You cannot deny the calling. So we are here to serve you and we don't ask for anything. We don't ask for anything at all. So with that said, I've been holding off, little bro, on Facebook and YouTube where they can see Jay Mejia, mindset coach, Pastor Carlos, and it's had the ministry that I was in before. I'll drop it right now. There you go. It's official. You've got Jay Mejia, mindset consultant, and Pastor Carlos, Refiners Church, right there on the bottom of your screen. It's official starting today. It is official. Sunday, the first service. Nice. Let's go. God is going to be doing great things, and we can't wait for y'all to receive. Really, it's about transforming your lives. This is not about anything else other than transforming lives. That's what we want, and we know that God is doing big things. So it's time to bless people, bro. For real, legit.
And that's what we're working on, and it's going to be nonstop. It's going to be nonstop, no matter what we got going on. As you can see, I feel like everyone who does watch us on a weekly basis, they can actually confirm that we've never missed an episode. We've never missed an episode. So there was no excuse to, if we had a bad day or a bad week and unable to speak, that's when we can actually speak the most. That's when we actually have more to talk about, more to be able to provide for everyone who's watching, for everyone who's receiving the message, because our whole purpose is to strengthen each other, right? To help each other get by, to get through, to break through, because it's a lot of people out there that's really not full of good intentions, right? Or if you have anybody that's connected with you, it may be for a reason, for a specific reason, right? There's people out there that's using other people. There's people out there who really want to help others. You're always going to bump into different people that are full of different intentions, right? But here you are with this platform, and now with Big Bro doing his first service
Thank you, little bro.
this weekend, which is major. And I want to congratulate you again, because I know how hard you've been working. No matter what you got going on in your life, you were able to make all this happen. How strong the attacks got, only you and I know, because you didn't even get into details, and you don't have to get into details, but it's major, and you were still able to get through in making that happen. So I know there's going to be huge things happening.
And again, with that, I want to give you
here.
guys the motivation, because
We're
you know we
definitely
know
not stopping
big things
here.
are happening there. The enemy does not attack something that's not a threat. So the fact that the last 2 weeks especially have been ridiculously heavy hit, we know that there's a reason why. And it's because there was something for him to fear in the launching of Refiners Church, the launching of the ministry. There's something big that's happening. There's people, believe me, it's not even about me and my family and the team that we have. It's about the fact that there's people that are going to receive, whether they're receiving in person or you are receiving online. He does not want you to be blessed. He does not want you to have a future. He does not want you to be delivered. He does not want you to be transformed. He does not want you to get from where you are now to where you're going to be, because that's a problem for him. Because there's a lot of people who are, you know, essentially in a lot of different ways are enslaved because they don't have that freedom that only he provides, you know what I'm saying? And then in the knowledge that he provides, you know, like I'm sure earlier when Metatron was talking about, you know, how things are. And it's like, man, you know what? I've come to the point, yo, man, I haven't been thankful. When you get the revelation of what's holding you back, that changes things. It's kind of like when you go to the doctor, right? You think like you might be dying and the doctor goes, nah, you ain't dying. You know what it is? You just need to get a little bit of sunlight. Your vitamin D is mad low. Go get some sun. And all of a sudden you decide, yo, you know what? I'm going to start taking a few walks so I can get some sunlight. You know, maybe during lunch, I'm going to take a walk, or on the weekends, I'm going to take a walk and get some sunlight, whatever. And all of a sudden you get that vitamin D and you start feeling a million times better. You know, when you start to identify what the problem is, you get told what the issue is, or God, in this case, God reveals what the problems are, and you move to that next level, you'll be like, yo, I feel so much better. And that's what we're doing. We're bringing people into new levels. So believe me, it's gonna be crazy. We do have a few more comments. Hold up here a sec. Corinne, I'm in Houston. Hi, Corinne, DM, and you know, you can be blessed in the service. I know it's gonna be a blessing. Oh, happy birthday in advance. Jael writes, Refiners Church, yes, praying for God's glory to fall and for Pastors Carlos and Jessica to be covered for their souls and for souls to be saved. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. People are going to be saved. Absolutely. Mejia de la Rosa Pia is going to be here in Houston in May. Let's go. Jael writes, if Satan's not fighting against you, you are not a threat, and you might be walking with him. Yo, believe me. That is true. And the worst part is, sometimes I haven't even really, let me not go there. I don't want anybody to see this later and get upset. Let me just leave it at that. You might be walking with him and you don't even know. How about I just leave it at that? You know, we'll just leave it at that. Last one. Sometimes we don't know what's going on with us and it's confusing. Metatron, 100%. I agree with you. And that is the frustration.
Definitely.
But believe me, there's going to be a lot of revelation coming in that. And I hope that you know, Metatron, I just feel to tell you this, bro. Anytime that you need to, go ahead, DM me. I'm sure God's going to give you an uplifting word that's going to go ahead and reveal some things to you to take you out of where you are. Because I have a feeling, bro, that the enemy's been wanting to keep you where you are and keep you in darkness for a while. And it's one of those things, and you might know, I mean, you're going to be, you know, only you and God know this, but I feel like what he does is kind of treats you like a yo-yo. It's kind of like he gives you enough space to feel like you're starting to progress and do okay, and then he brings you back, and then he'll let you go forward, and then he brings you back, and then he lets you go forward, and he brings you back. I think what God wants to do is get to the point now where he starts cutting it. It's like he's not going to have that string anymore to move you forward and back as he pleases, to keep you, you know, where you are. God wants to go ahead and cut that, cut that rope, cut that leash, so then the next time that you move forward, you start moving forward. So believe me, we'll be in communication, we'll be in contact. I think, again, my people perish. That's a big, a big scripture. My people perish because they lack the knowledge. And I think what God wants to do is give you some knowledge to take you out. You're saying so frustrating. So I think right now you can probably be in agreement that God revealed something that shows this is what the enemy's been doing. But once you get that revealed, once the enemy gets the spotlight shined on them, that this is what's going on, that's where God starts to cut that rope. And I believe that that's what's going to happen. You're not going to have them change no more, bro. We're breaking that. Believe me. Absolutely believe me. It's time for you to be free from that.
That's right. I mean, he already took the first step, which is expressing it, letting it be known. There's a lot of people that hold it in, and that makes it much worse.
Facts, bro. Facts.
So
he is going to get through it.
Get through it. And also knowing who we have around us. Like we've spoken about this a number of times. Make sure you have the right people around you at all times. Maybe this is a season where certain people don't belong by you, or some people don't deserve your presence. Like that's something to think about as well. Where are you putting yourself? Because you never know the spaces that you're stepping into.
That's true.
And you may be bringing back things to your home. You don't know what luggage that is. That could be any event. That can be a family member's home. That could be a so-called your boy. You never know what it is that you're bringing from those places you're stepping into. So that's another thing too, man. I appreciate you putting that out there in the chat, because testimony is testimony, regardless if it's in the chat or on the live itself. It's equivalent, and we appreciate that, man. And I'm sure anyone who's listening in or reading your messages can relate.
Let me see. We got
this is major. This is major. I don't think we missed any more.
Thank you for the badge.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
for the
again
badge.
For the badge.
God is good. Congratulations. Good news. Glory to God. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, that's all of them there, little bro. That's all the comments there. Again, if anybody has anything else that they want to comment, that they want to share, please put it into the comments box. If it's something that you want to kind of put out there, but you don't want your name to be put out where everybody can read it, share it with the little speech bubble that's down at the bottom so Jay Mejia can receive it. He'll read it out. I think he should be able to receive those, hopefully. And if you want to share this, if you're being blessed with this, hit the little paper airplane, send it out, put it in your story, send it to somebody. It's going to be a blessing. And of course, if you want to join, I know some of y'all might have testimony. I know some of y'all might build others up right now. Please go ahead, request to join. We will put you onto the live. We will go ahead and put you onto the live because, again, this is not, for me, this is not Jay Mejia. This is not our platform. This is a platform where God uses other people to speak as well. And we know that it's uplifting because we've seen that. So definitely we want y'all on here. If you have something that you have to share, that you want to share, that you feel God's putting in your heart. If you feel he's putting on your heart, do not hold back. Go out there in faith, knowing that I could put this out there. There ain't no judgment here, or, your testimony is powerful. Believe me, absolutely powerful.
Definitely. And always keep in mind that you are capable of getting through any situation that you're facing right now. Just have to set for your side and just keep pushing forward. Sometimes we get stuck. We get stuck in that obstacle that we have in front of us that we're just so afraid to keep, because we're asking ourselves what's coming next. Always be ready for what's coming next, right? We should always be ready for what's coming next. And every single time, if you notice, when you're dealing with different stages of your life, it's always a different enemy that you're facing, or the size of that obstacle. Sometimes it's minor, right? Easy to brush it off, easy to break through. There's others that take time. Notice how things don't change overnight. Sometimes it takes days or weeks or months, but you have to like face yourself and say, you know what? What did I learn from this? How can I continue to move forward? How can I do things differently? What did I do wrong? Or what am I doing wrong? Right? Because we can't always use an attack as an excuse of okay with behaving a certain way, right? Sometimes we're the ones that are creating these situations. Sometimes we're not the ones creating the situations, but it's all about the perspective and mindset, right? So whatever attention you give, whatever your decision making is at that moment is what determines whether you're going to solve that problem or make it worse. Are you going to get past that situation, or are you going to get stuck in that situation? And something that would have taken a few hours or a day or two to get by now is going to take you much longer.
Yep, don't
because of a
confuse
decision you made.
bad decisions with the enemy, you know. But believe me, don't do that.
With the enemy, yeah.
But I know, you know, to my exactly.
Yeah. Two wrongs don't make a right. That's a good example. Two wrongs don't make a right. I mean, I could make multiple examples, and I can go all day. You know, sometimes it's like, oh no, but this person did this to me. They made me feel this way, so it's only right for me
Yep.
to let them feel what I felt, so they know how. You know, no, you don't do that. You cut that person off. You communicate it if you want to, right? Communicate. Make sure you have that communication. Let them know, listen, I don't appreciate what you're saying. I don't appreciate what you're doing. You know, this hurt me, or this is really affecting me, or this is not helping me out. And just cut that person off. Or go your separate ways. Because cutting a person off does sound harsh. Sometimes you have no choice but to do it. But at the end of the day, you have to not only protect you, but also protect the other person. Because you know when someone is trying to harm you, anything you say or do to the other person is going to harm them as well. And all you're trying to do is avoid a situation becoming worse, right? Just knowing how to move, knowing how to behave, how to handle,
Yep.
and everything is in our emotions, man, for real. Like, notice how the mistakes that we've made in the past, it was all emotion based. It's all about what we felt in that moment. Because of what we felt in that moment, we thought it was right. Hours later, a few days later, maybe weeks later, you realize, man, all right, you know, like I was right, but not the way that I responded to that situation. That was completely wrong, right? There's people out there that won't even admit it. They disregard it and they just keep going with life, which is why a lot of people out there can't really
A
heal
lot
properly.
of times, you know, it's the person that did the
It
action,
is what it is.
the person that received, you know, on the other side from that action, you know, from said action. And a lot of times you may get people caught in the crossfire. You know, you need to evaluate the situation as a whole, because you never know who's going to get caught in the mix of all of that. You really need to be careful with that. And again, sometimes the best thing is just to remove, like you said, remove from the situation. There are certain things that sometimes people will take as like, oh no, but no, I'm sure God won't be, you know, pleased with that or whatever. Sometimes God permits the things to do it. It's not that it's not that he's the one doing the bad things. It's the one that he allows for those things to happen, because these situations have to happen. But at the same time, you need to make sure not to sin against your brother or your sister. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to sin against the people. So sometimes to not sin against the person, it means you got to remove yourself from the situation. That means you got to remove yourself from that person, because if you're there right now, it's not going to go well, you know? And believe me, God understands that. So some of y'all just need to be removed from that spot, because if not, get removed from that spot, that job, that relationship, that friendship, you know, that family relationship, because if not, it can lead you go down the wrong road. Next thing you know, you gossiping. Next thing you know, you arguing. Next thing you know, you cursing them out. Next thing you know, you might be getting into the physical fight. I mean, who knows what you're going to be getting into? But a lot of times it's because it was like, yo, you just need to take a step back and remove yourself from that situation and from that relationship, you know, and you don't do it. So don't fall trap to that, because sometimes the answer is going to be, I need to step away for a minute. You know what I'm saying? I need to step away for a minute.
Remove yourself or the other party from your life. That's it.
Let's see here on YouTube. We're good on the comments. Facebook, I do see Leslie had wrote, great word. Look at God.
YouTube,
Praise the Lord.
Facebook.
What's good?
Oh, you know what?
Okay, let's get her on.
Leslie.
I know people are always blessed when she hops on, so curious to see what happens.
Bro, I'm dying over
Leslie,
here,
what's good?
Hello, we got some good stuff here.
Yes,
My goodness.
It's been a while. What's up? What's going on?
A lot. So, just when I think I'm going to stay quiet, you come and call me again, huh? So testimony time. So, but before I tell you, I just want to say this, guys. Sometimes we're saying the same thing in different words because of where we're at, right? So I hear Carlos talking about how, the attack comes at the time when sometimes you can't even take it, and you think you can't take it anymore, because how much more? And you guys know, I mean, in my life, and it gets you where it's really gonna hurt. So for me, the only place that I've really focused on the hurt, I think you guys know where you could hurt me, right?
I'm gonna guess your kids.
It's my kids. That's it. That's where I fall. Everything else doesn't matter. I mean, and I think anybody that knows me knows nothing matters. You can take it all away. So lately I've had, remember I told you I lost a job. I lost my car. I mean, the only thing that I haven't lost are my kids and my health, thank God. And did you see what happened to my youngest? So all right. So he had a tremendous accident on
wow, I didn't know this.
But this is the thing. This is the praise report. So somebody rear-ended him. The car flipped twice. All right. No, they rear-ended him. They hit they hit it to the side. Car flips twice. And he managed to get out of the car while it's flipped in a ditch. Okay. But the guy also wanted to, he was gonna do one of those hit and run. And somebody that was behind Derek, who was with him, but these people were in another car. They tell me that somehow the guy's car just lost, I don't know what happened to his car, but he hit a pole, and then the pole fell on the car, fell.
Oh.
Yeah, repeat that. I can't hear you.
I think it's muted. You probably hit the mute by mistake.
Oh, so he can't run because he hit a pole, and the pole fell, and so now the car can't move. All right. So the biggest thing here is that here we are, but of course, when I hear this, when I get the call, the first thing that I want to say is, oh my God, how much more? Right. But then all of a sudden, I couldn't do anything other than, when I saw how that car looked, praise, because I could be saying a different story, And it's made me look at this and say, okay, so All these things are coming, but we're still here. All these things are hitting me, you know, because it could really wear a person out. But then God is still having his hand on this. And so with people who are messing with your life, with jobs that are whatever, at the end of the day, if you give it to God, I want to say, you have no control, because once you give it, that's it. It's out of your hands. And I'm telling you, when we speak to people and we're like, you know, do this and God and whatever, some people don't understand because they're not there, you know? And I'm here to say, if you just let go, you know how they say, let go and let God, but just wait. And then as you wait, try to find peace in the waiting. Because the process on this end, that's what you know, that's what we're supposed to go through. It's the process. God does it all. And I'm telling you, it's such a, I don't think I've ever been in a better place, because it's that all I can see is not what happened, but what didn't happen. All still
I'm grateful for what didn't happen.
They come out of, and you guys know, they come out of things, and you know, and it made me look at this. This is for them, because they have to all learn whatever they have to learn. But what does it do to me? That I see that God is in my life, and God knows my heart, and he's protecting us. That's it. That's the gift, you know? So whatever happens, you know that you're going to get out of it, because there's nothing else. It's either you get through it or you get through it, you know? If we see it that way, you give it up, you have to breathe, and the next day is going to come. I've said this before, but I'm telling you, because I could have just gone crazy. I mean, you know, how much more does a person?
It would have been much crazier if that passed, you know, and thank God he's there.
I had you know, I could have had a heart attack. I could have, I don't know, crashed a car while I'm going to the hospital. You know, all these stories that we hear that get worse. And I'm telling you, I sat there and I'm looking at him, and as I'm looking at him, I felt like I was going crazy, because now I'm like almost like laughing. You know, I'm looking at the car and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, oh my God, but God loves me so much. And as I said, you guys know, one by one, I've seen things with my kids that I could have lost my head. And look at where we're at. And it's going to get better. And just like with you guys, just as you tell everybody, we've gone through things, whatever, and look at where you are. You know, you can't be in a better place. So much, so beautifully. And when you, in hindsight, what happened? Nothing. You know? So here we go again. It's beauty for ashes, and that's what he promises. He's going to give you the best of things. He's going to put you in the best of places if you wait, you know? And how do you do that if you don't believe, or if you're learning, or if you're new to this walk? You just have to have faith. What I used to say all the time, the last thing that you should lose is faith or hope. And she wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? Like she wasn't where we're at. Yep. And it's the truth.
And you know,
because that's all that's you know, that's
and there's a piece, you know, that surpasses understanding, that when you get to that point, and it's funny because, you know, again, I'm at some point I'll share more, but with like the craziness that's been happening the last couple of weeks, even like this weekend, there got to be a point where like it was just like, all right, how much more, right? And I remember we had a little birthday party for one of the youth that I was pastoring, and over here at the house, and I went and I sat down at the table. Like after all the craziness, I just sat down at the table. Like latest attack literally had just happened. I literally just came into my house. Latest attack had happened like an hour and a half, 2 hours before that. And I finally got home from dealing with it and everything like that. I go sit down and I have somebody like, hey, you just want a slice of pizza? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I just sat down and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to treat like I've been staying off of drinking soda, So I was like, I think I'm just going to have myself a soda. Why not just enjoy myself, And I was there and eating, and I had somebody who decided to, God went and spoke to somebody and had them bless me with something that they had, no idea how much, no idea what I needed. And it turns out it was exactly what I had needed, and it was something I was stressing about before. And as I was sitting there and eating my pizza and having like something to drink, this person shares with me later, like, God showed me to give you this, and I'm just being obedient. And they said, the reason why I felt, that God was telling me that is because God was saying, look, this is my son who, in the midst of everything that's going on, is not focusing on that, but instead is just like, you know what, let me just sit down and enjoy the blessings that God has for me and forget about the problem. And they were like, and that was God showing them, this is how I need people to be. And that's not to say that I'm always like that. There's times that like, I'm like, man, this is frustrating. And I have to work to get over it because I am human, But that was a moment in which I was just like, God, I recognize why this is happening. I recognize what I'm going up against. And I recognize why, why the enemy's doing this. But I'm just going to sit down, forget about it, and enjoy what you have for me. And the thing is, God spoke to somebody else about that. And that person went and shared the testimony of, this was what God had shown me about that, which I'm sure has touched certain people's lives to be like, wow, that's true. Like, that did just happen. And he's just chilling at the table, eating pizza and drinking some soda. Like, it was a big thing. But when you get to that point of now having a peace that surpasses understanding, that's the level that I want every single person to get to. And this is not to say, like I said before, this is not to say that I'm there 24/7, because it's hard. But when you get to that point, which is a point that I want a lot of people to get to, I want everybody to get there. That's where you start to see God provide, because it's like, yo, nothing can shake them. Nothing can shake them.
And it's not that you're not shaking. That's the thing. Because, and I keep saying, I lost my car. Listen, after a while, I had almost paid the whole car. I had to give up the car. And I saw the car go, and I was like, what is going on? Like that, like you're panicking. There's a moment that you're like, you forgot that you're believing in something. It happens to the best of us. And you know what, guys? Honestly, less than 2 months later, I have two cars in my driveway, and they're both for me to use. They just appear. I'm telling you, like I was called to use these cars. So it is a miracle for me, because it's the least of the things that I thought I was going to see, and sometimes you just give up, you give up in the sense of like not give up, but it's like, okay, white flag, because what else can I do? That, and like you said, that's when God says, okay, are you out? You did what you had to do. And he comes in and he does it so beautifully. That's what I want, as I said, for people to understand. It's when you get yourself out of it and you relax. God is a loving God. No parent is gonna want to see. There's no joy in you punishing your kids. There's no joy. You want to give them love. We come with ego. So imagine if that's us. Imagine God, who created us, for his purpose. He's not trying. As a matter of fact, I said this to someone. Sometimes it's not even about you. Sometimes it's for other people to see the light in you or the God in you. And it's not the God that you're God. It's what God does for you, through you, in you, And I can only go back to Job. That's unfortunately what we can do. You know, it's like, okay, the enemy says, you know what, this person just loves you because you're giving them so much. You know how much we have, and we go around and we're not even, we weren't praising about our kids, we weren't praising about our you know, significant other, or how we have somewhere to live, or we have food. We don't do that, but we're here. And so when it's taken away, you know, when it's disturbed, so that it can be seen that, yeah, we have this because God loves us, then it's just the opportunity. But somebody else will see it, because just like you said, Carlos, somebody saw, oh my goodness, this person's going through all this.
Yep.
That was their lesson as well. My kids, I don't say it anymore. You know, they just look at me like, oh my gosh, she's so religious. Well, guess what? I can get out of that's it. I have nothing more to say, because everybody's seen already what God does in their life. You know, the only thing that I could say is, you love me so much because you're protecting my heart. You know, nothing happened. That's my joy. But now he has something to see. The person that was with him has something to see. The people that saw the accident have, you know, everybody saw God, and I wasn't even there. You know what I'm saying? So now it's the God in him. And this is how we proceed. So again, I share this. I mean, maybe somebody else is getting something else out of this, but what I would like to share is just breathe, have faith. Let it, you know, when we talk about let somebody go or forget about, it's not let somebody go and never speak to them again, or, you know, forget about your family member or whatever. No, it's just like, let the time pass. Let God do his work, and then everything is going to come back. Thank you.
And you know what? And this is also like a perfect example, not to speak about Derek himself, but this is more general. But even Derek, let's just say he was probably worried about so many things, and this accident happened. What is he worried about today? Probably not much, because he's probably grateful to still be here. Same thing with everyone who's listening right now. There's a lot of things that we worry about,
Oh, my
but
Lord.
the second something tragic happens, that it takes a whole 360 turn. And that's when it takes something so intense to happen for you to realize, wow, that problem that I had a few hours ago or for the past few weeks is this small compared to what happened now. Like, I could have been gone. And if I was gone, that would have been one less child for my mother. That would have been my daughter or son not having a father or mother or whatever the case is. So it's like, this is why we have to be in the right place mentally. And as I mentioned before, no matter what we got going on, be extremely grateful, thankful, and practice gratitude on a daily basis, because we never know what can happen. And this is tragic. There's people out here getting diagnosed with cancer, with conditions. There's people out here, there's so much happening that people have to know that tomorrow's not promised, right? Tomorrow's not promised. Accidents happen. There's people out there who are not forgiving others. There's people out there who are not willing to have conversations with other people, with whoever that is, because of whatever had happened in the past. And it's time to just, not that you're obligated to have, you know, conversations, but whatever you feel that's in your heart that it's causing you to question you, should I do this or should I not? It's something to always come back to reevaluate. What should be the right decision at this point? Because you know what? Tomorrow's not promised. And the day that I leave, I don't want to leave anyone in pain. Or the day that that person leaves, I don't want to be in pain. And no one deserves to be in pain. And we all deserve peace. So once again, being grateful, being thankful, and practicing gratitude will lead us down a path of peace. Patience and faith is what we need on a regular basis. I say it all the time. Patience is the virtue. Faith is the substance. It's a quick reminder of anything that you're going through. Just tell yourself that. Look at yourself in the mirror. Write it down. Look at it. Have it on your vision board. if you can get a dry erase board, put it right in front of your desk, you know, something that you can look up to whenever you feel stressed. You know how usually we're looking down on a computer, iPad, phone, or notepad, and the second we feel stressed, we look up. Let it be that, or any other positive message. It doesn't have to be that exact, but there's other positive messages that you can come across. And again, we're living in interesting times, critical times, which is why now is the best time to make all the changes necessary to get to that point where you can actually remove yourself from any negativity and remove negativity from you in general. That
And
goes
learn
for
from
everyone.
it, because since you know, look
Definitely.
for the lesson, because I'm gonna tell you, with this story that I just told you,
Mm-hmm.
let's remember my son's in pain. You know, he went through.
Can only imagine.
But
Yeah.
do you have your you know, your hands, your arms? Is your head in place? You know, I mean, I'm telling you. And not only that, is that car that important? And he's gonna have another one. You know what I'm saying? Okay, there's loss. There's loss. There's, in order for you to have change is a drastic, dramatic thing. But guess what?
Yep.
It's gonna be changed. It can't stay the same, you know. And that's in the natural. And then let's take it up, since we're talking about, you know, there being a God. Could you imagine with God? Because in the natural, change is going to happen, whatever, you know. And it's always beautiful anyway, because after a season, another beautiful season comes. But imagine them with God. You know, that one we know because he said it. It's just going to be for your good.
And let me tell you too, like, it's important too, you know, because like, for
we
example,
have to be. Go ahead, big bro.
what Leslie just shared right now, and even you know, about how you know how God helped, you know, how God saved Derek in that accident, but then also what she just shared also, you know, about like, okay, now I have the two cars and I had to see what the one that I'd worked for that was pretty much paid off, like, go away. There have been, not that long ago, there would have been a time where I would have been like, yeah, right, whatever, like, you know, I don't believe that, like, there's more to it, whatever, you know. But when you start to see it, and then when you experience it yourself, you're like, oh snap, like, now I'm that person, you know what I'm saying? Now that's me. And then that's, once you live that, once you get to see for yourself what other people have talked about, that's the point in which you're just like, this wasn't made up, and it increases the faith. That again is why I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to experience that, because when you experience that, that's when you realize, I don't have anything to worry about here, you know. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the entire situation, every situation locked up. You know, this thing is, it's like, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to go through it. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to have feelings. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have emotions. Doesn't mean that, you know, the enemy's not going to try to hit me and it's not going to hurt. But it's just to say that this is where we talk about, you can still have your peace. You can still have your joy, because you know somehow, some way, he's still going to come through, because he always does. You know what I'm saying? He always does. She just gave y'all testimonies, 2 testimonies of it. I know of a third with one of her sons who went through a situation that wasn't a great situation. And mind you, he did it to himself. But now he has a relationship with God. And God used something. And you cannot get him to say that he doesn't believe, because he's like, I believe. In fact, I connect with him every now and then, because he's like, hey, I found another way to prove that he does, like in a scientific way, so that you could see like these miracles. And you're just like, for real? Like, you, like, you're coming to me with this? You know what I'm saying? But when God does something that's unquestionable, it's like, I know now, you know? And it's one of those things where it's like Leslie just gave y'all 2 examples. I'm just giving you another one with one of her sons. I can give y'all many examples. I just gave you one with the stuff from, that's been here over the last couple of weeks. Jay Mejia has gone ahead and also, shared before. And we're all telling you guys, and mind you, we're not people that I could say like, oh, we grew up in the church and, I saw this all my life. And no, we're people that grew up with the mentality, an upbringing of you got to do, you got to do, you got to do, you got to do, you got to do. And there was no relationship with Christ. So, of course,
no, God was there.
Exactly. God was there to scare you. Absolutely right. Which I think that's a relationship that a lot of y'all have. And some of y'all probably don't even have a relationship with him because it's a thing of like, you feel because of that God that like, oh, is there to scare you. You don't believe that he wants a relationship. And that's the biggest lie ever. You got to think there's somebody who wants you to believe that so you don't have a relationship because he doesn't want you to walk into the blessings that God actually has for you. Because why would you want to go that direction? And it's like, hold up. But there's people telling me it's different. And it's like, God was there to scare you. You need to do it for yourself. You need to do it. You need to do it. You need to do it. And then we came to a realization later in life that, hold up, wait, it's not like that. And then imagine when you got to break a foundation that has been built of, no, but that's not how he is. That's not who he is. And you got to let that be broken. And you spend years. It took me probably 20 years almost, maybe more, to finally get to that point. So I can tell you from experience because I came to know him at 18. You know what I'm saying? And even still, I was a believer all these years, and people would come and talk this stuff, and I'd be like, yo, it must be nice to lie on stage and give that testimony because I don't know him like that, and I don't believe it, to then be like, nah, I'm the one that can say it's true. You know what I'm saying? Jay Mejia, you have the benefit that you started the legit walk just here in the last couple years, last 2 or 3 years, and you've gotten to see him move. But it's because there's people that you've trusted that you could say, hold up, I know they're not going to make that up. Or he's telling me all the struggles. And me and little bro, we share stuff constantly. So I'm extremely transparent with little bro. And it's like when he gets to see it, he's like, okay, but I can expect the same because I know. And that's the thing. This is why it's important. This is why this platform is important. This is why church is important. This is why having a connection with people is important. Because when these situations are not to big up ourselves or big up what we've received, this is about Christ shining through us. When you guys see these things happen, we're representatives of him. And it's not him. Excuse me, it's not us, it's him that you get to see in the midst of all that. And I shared, this one person that spoke to me about this and blessed me this weekend was because they were like, oh my gosh, I just got to see God. It wasn't about me. It was like, I got to see who God truly is. And it's like, I want that. You know what I'm saying? Thank God I got a chance to see this. And that's the encounter that we want y'all to have. But little bro being able to see that, being so close into it, and then being like, okay, I am going to believe in that because of what I'm seeing, the legit scene. This is why it's important to have a closeness with others who have a relationship, because then you start to seek that same relationship. And when you see that closeness, and the key word here is that transparency. They're yo, it's not all good. It's not all good. There's a lot that's going on here, but I'm willing to share with you, yo, look, just look. It's that helps to build up faith. And this is what all of this is about, is to help to build up faith so that y'all could have that legit relationship. And then you could come on here and be like, yo, I don't know how, but he did it. You know what I'm saying? He did it. And then you can expect more.
If you'll allow me to share something, and I'm thinking about, there was somebody who, I don't know what his name is, that he said that he's like upset because he didn't, because he doesn't have that
Yeah,
relationship.
he wasn't being
What's
grateful or
his name?
hadn't been showing expressing the gratitude. That was Metatron, right? Ito, yeah.
So
Metatron, right?
I want to
Okay.
share this. So I accepted Jesus when I was 14. Okay, because I was in the Dominican Republic, and there's a big community over there in El Quisqueya, that's like, if you're either in or
The,
yeah.
was that the colegio right
So the
across?
majority of my
Yeah.
friends,
Okay.
grew up in the faith. So there was nothing else I could do but walk into it, right? So, but I've seen things, I've seen things through my life, and God has had, I he's touched my life a lot. And I think, I'm a nice person. I think I believe, and I listen, and I have a good heart. Well, I'm gonna say about 10 years ago, and that when I was 14 is way more than 10 years ago, right? But 10 years ago, life wasn't that bad. I'm going, through a little bit of things, and a friend of mine who came from the Dominican Republic, she had just come from the Dominican Republic, wasn't working. She decided to stay home. Her husband was working, and he was supporting her and their two kids with what I used to make. Okay, the same exact money. So she's talking about, oh, I'm gonna buy a house, and I'm gonna have a car, and not every car. I'm gonna have this car, and I'm looking at her. I'm a believer. I've seen good things in life. You think, like, in my mind, like, why would you think that you just got here and you're gonna have what I don't have? And I think I'm not like that. Like, I'm not envious. And I that like worked on me, because I'm like, gosh, she's always praising you. What's going on? This can't be true. But I know God, right? But I'm still saying this can't be true, because nothing can happen to her where she doesn't say, oh, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. So I started getting a little like I didn't want to talk to her, because this was just too much. Well, needless to say, the girl got the house, she got the cars, everything happened, and I'm still looking like, with the same amount of money that I make, and I'm only supporting, like, I'm still like looking at how I budget my whole life, whatever. Well, you know what the difference was? And she's at peace, and they're having a great time. He would, like, life is happening for them, and they just got here. Well, the thing is what I'm telling you. I'm over here going at it because I work, because I'm doing, because I get up and I whatever. I hardly saw my kids. I hardly live life. That's how I chose. I chose to take things on my own strength. Whereas the difference was that she's really believing, and just, anything that God gives her, anything was like such a big thing. And so going back to the friend here, listen, it's just that we also have to die, ourselves. That's what this is about. All that ego and all that, all those attacks that are coming upon us, those words that are talking about, oh, you should be more grateful. We're talking about being grateful, but we're saying it in a way of, let go of things. You let go of it. You give it to God. Not just like, oh, God is going to take this, because you got to be patient with yourself as well. You have to understand, we come with a lot of baggage, just like Carlos was saying, you got to relearn. You have to become a different person and leave the other one behind. So when we talk about these things, and we're sharing these stories, just like Carlos says, for me, okay, so a certain part of my life, okay, I understood who God was. But then I also have to let go of the other part that, is tired. I want it when I want it. We are human beings. This is not about telling you, you have to be perfect right away and have perfect faith or whatever. No, 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 no. Your faith, your amount is the one that God wants, whatever, a little one. That's why the word talks about the mustard seed. Just a little bit of it is going to take you a long way, because a little faith today is more than you had yesterday. And so just like with a regular relationship, you don't know me, but the more you know me, the more you're going to relax with me, the more you're going to allow me to show you that, I have good intentions. And that's what God wants. It's a relationship. I'm sorry, guys. I always think, oh,
No, but
sorry.
it's absolute facts, and you get to see it firsthand. But the same way that we've just discussed here, I know tonight we've talked about a lot of, in terms of like the financial, which I know is important for a lot of people to hear, but I want you guys to also take that a step further. There's some of y'all that need to be delivered from a lot of other stuff. There's some of y'all that has been a health issue. There's some of y'all that it's been some nonsense going on in your marriage. There's some of y'all that it's been stuff with the kids. There's some of y'all that's been stuff at work. There's some of y'all that it's just been like, there's just some stronghold, some stronghold or oppression in your life. And it's just like, I've just always had this, and it's like, God wants y'all to be free from all that too. He does.
Mm-hmm. And you will be. He's working on.
So you can. It's an all-encompassing.
It's not
thing. Now, again, that doesn't mean that it's all going to be perfect, and because you have to understand certain things are His will as well. Everything is His will, really. Absolutely, everything is. But sometimes there's going to be certain things that He doesn't. That's just kind of like, yo, you're just going to have to deal with this, and I can't tell you why, other than the fact that it's His will. But what I can tell you is that there's purpose. There's always purpose behind why. For example, there's certain people that will be like, okay, well, this person here is, I've heard of people, for example, that get healed from Parkinson's. And then there's certain people that don't, but at the same time, the person that's been healed from Parkinson's, it's like, wow, praise God that it's gives somebody else hope, because there is no cure for it. You know what I'm saying? But God did something here. It's unquestionable, because the people that know this person are like, he's healed of Parkinson's, like things that he couldn't do, like he couldn't clench a fist, he couldn't move in certain ways or whatever. He's been dealing with that for years, and then all of a sudden one day, God did something, and this person all of a sudden can do these things, and it's like there's no, like, praise God that He did it. But at the same time, God might have gone and done a bunch of things for somebody, and then all of a sudden, He doesn't heal that person from Parkinson's, but they still have faith, and they're still having other things that obviously God is doing, and they have faith. And somebody can go, but God didn't heal you from the Parkinson's though, like why? And that person will be like, nah, but I'm good though, because they still remain joyful with the, expecting that God is going to do it at some point. It doesn't negate everything else that He did. And for somebody else that has Parkinson's, they may be like, yo, you know what? I don't know how, but I praise God, because it's like, how could this just like happen with me this weekend? How could this person be joyful in all this still? And it's just like not a care in the world. You know what I'm saying? Not a care in the world. And that to somebody that's going through it could be like, how? And it could be like, wow, you know what? I need to, I believe that God could give me that too, and just give me that peace. And in that, you never know the day that like that situation that you weren't being healed from or being delivered from or whatever, the day that God turns it around, because it was like, oh, I just needed you to go through it and show the faith that you had so you could encounter this person at the right place at the right time that needed to see that you still had the faith and that you were still walking through and you still believed. And now they got it, and now, boom, I'm going to heal you that day. You know what I'm saying? You just never know.
And sometimes you got to heal from yourself, because that story that I just told you, did I know that I was the one that had to heal? Now, you guys talked about, well, let go of the person. Listen, people, I'm telling you, my friend didn't know. And it's not that I envied her. I was just upset because, like, what am I looking at here? And you know what? at the end of the day, and right now, as I tell you these stories, the healing needed to be me. I needed to heal from whatever it was that was not allowing me to accept and to relax. You know what I'm saying? I had to let go of the control, whatever it was. But in the scheme of things, it's just that for God is trying to make it perfect. That's another thing that he promises. He doesn't promise that we're going to be perfect, but he promises that it's going to be, just like you said, the perfect will of, and just, even with your example with Parkinson's, you see some people that are very happy because at least they don't have so much pain, or at least they get to see their daughter graduate, or at least they get to have a moment with whatever. That's what they have in their hearts, so that's the great story. For me, I'm so grateful that I even, that I matured that moment, because if I would not have done that, I wouldn't be able to praise right now. I'd still be saying, oh, but all this is happening, and why does this happen to me? No, I'm telling you, I want to go get my friend now and just, without saying anything, just hug her a lot or whatever, because I remember her peace. And that's it. That's when you see God. You see God in people. We just, we just have to take it day by day. It's going to happen for you. Day by day. Get out of the way. Isn't there a song that goes like, get out of the way?
Well, I don't know, but I know the day by day goes back to what I went to in the very beginning. Don't worry about tomorrow. Let tomorrow, tomorrow has its own troubles. Worry about today, people. That's God's trying to let y'all know that. And, when you're just like, yo, you know what? He's got it. I'm not going to worry about all this extra stuff. I'm not going to worry about next week, next month. It's not to say that you act like they don't exist, because they do. And you prepare like you can, but there's a difference when you let that run your life. There's a difference when you make that the center, the focus. Let me tell y'all, and this might be, this might be an eye-opener to some of you. What is an idol? An idol is anything that takes away your focus from God. Some of y'all, your problems are your idol. And you don't realize it. You've elevated it to a status. And I'm going to hit y'all on two different sections. You've elevated to a status because, first of all, right, you have it take your focus away from God. And then it's like, I'm trying to do everything by myself. And you don't put God in the mix, and you don't focus on God. You have it take away your time to your prayer time. You have it take away your time to connect with him. You have it take away your time to rely on him. You have it take away from the relationship, right? And let me tell y'all, some of y'all get a chance to have that happen in the spiritual, but also in the physical, right? Ooh, I'm about to hit y'all with a good one now. Got to show me right now. So some of you, right, or many of us, lift up the problems as the idol, and you don't realize. So what happens is you let it affect your relationship with the Lord because you don't rely on the Lord and you don't spend time with him. You don't do anything. You lift up the idol to be higher. And the word says that Christ is coming for what? He's coming for his bride. The bride is a church. His bride is a people, right? Some of y'all do the same exact thing with your spouse because you're so focused on all the problems that with your spouse and with your kids. It's just like, I don't have time for that right now. I don't have time. And you replace in that relationship, you go and you move that out. You've lifted up God, you've lifted up the problem as God, right? And when you think about it, you even get to the point that you believe that your problems are bigger than God. Because God, how could God fix your problems? Why would God want to fix your problems? I need to do this myself. You see what I'm saying? And you don't realize that you have idolized without knowing your problem. And that's a lot of the issues that we encounter. And why do we do that? Because tomorrow next week, a month from now, a year from now, what I see might happen, and I use that word very strongly, might, you don't even know 100% that it's going to happen. You don't even know. And some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, because what happens is when you get to next week or you get to next month, somehow God and all his grace provided for you, right? And you end up finding out what you were worried about, you didn't even have to be worried about, because it never happened. And the worst part is we don't even learn from that lesson, because when the next issue comes up, the next problem, you set it up as an idol too, and you didn't realize that the last time that a problem became an idol and you lifted it up higher than God, he got you out of that one. But how quickly we forget, you know what I'm saying? And we're constantly in a cycle of, I got this problem, lifting it up higher than God. He brought it down. Got this problem, I lifting it up higher than God. When do we learn? And that's the problem. He wants us to learn, and we're not doing it. But if we learn, we're going to break that vicious cycle that we're in, and we're going to stop the idolatry. And once we stop the idolatry, you're going to start seeing changes. Believe me, I know God is saying this because he wants his bride to not be sick. He wants his bride to be well. And it's crazy. And when you think about it, bro, brides, right? Brides. How many brides have you seen that have a special term that get applied to them? Bridezilla. Here they are throwing a fit about everything, because everything is going to go wrong supposedly for a wedding, right? And then the wedding comes and it worked out. The guests that needed to show up showed up. The ones who didn't need to show up, at the end of the day, you realize those are probably people down the road that probably aren't even in your life in the future. You know what I'm saying? The right people showed up in the long run. The special moment, you still had it. The relationship, you have it. What you needed, you have. But the bride has become bridezilla for God knows how long, and isn't focused about the beauty of the day. They're focused on all the supposed problems, and how that when that day comes, that day's not even going to come because of all these problems. And the problems never derail the actual event and the perfect moment. And here's Christ trying to go with his bride, and we just become a bunch of bridezillas lifting up these events in our lives, these problems in our lives, higher than the groom. We got to get past that, because that ain't working. It's not working. So let's get rid of this idolatry and all this other stuff. Let's put God in the place that he deserves to be, because ultimately he wants you to be well. He doesn't want you to work. And I tell you this because it's like those, it's like the grooms that it's like, okay, I'll continue to put down the money. No, don't worry. I don't want you to worry. Like, they throwing a fit about that cake. I got the cake. Oh, they getting on you about the dress. Yo, whatever we got to pay to get it done faster. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you worried about the food? I got the caterer. Whatever, there goes that groom who's not really worrying about it. And y'all know what I'm talking about, because most of the time the groom is like, all right, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take care of it. This is not knocking the ladies, but I'm just saying, if you've ever gone through that kind of season or seen those shows where Bridezilla be acting up, sometimes in retrospect, you look and you're like, man, she tripping. But guess what? All of us are doing that as children of God, being the bride, bro. And it's like, for what? He's trying to take care of the situation. But we throw in the fit, So it's knowledge like this that allows us to change, allows us to heal, allows us to transform, allows us to become better. And this is what it's all about. And y'all are going to do it. We're all going to do this together. It's going to be a blessing, But wild, bro. Absolutely wild. Let's see, did we miss? Let me
Just
see.
looking
Just
through the
that's a word
comments. You
right
don't see
there.
anything on your
You
end?
did get Corona's
Um,
top flight security Mejia. Oh man.
oh yeah, we go way back, man. Corona, Xavier, they were connected with us earlier. I don't think he's connected with us anymore. Is he? Nope.
For real,
But
bro.
yeah, today's been major, man, with the message. Really hope everyone received. Drop a heart in the chat if you received today. Definitely drop a heart in the chat for Refinance Church.
Again,
Their
if you're
service
in
this weekend, Sunday.
yeah, again, if you're in the Houston
Please
area,
look out
DM
for that,
me.
especially if you're in
I
Houston.
can get you the info so you can join us for the first service. I know it's going to be powerful. It's continuing to be a stressful week with a lot of other stuff. Enemy knows how to attack, you know. But yeah, if you don't mind, bro, two things real quick. I just want to put out aside from DMing for the info.
Yeah.
Usually I know we ask if people want prayer and all that other stuff. Of course, if you feel you need to, have us pray for you, we want to. Drop, anonymously in the bubble, put in the comments, however you need it. We are here to go ahead and pray for you. I don't often ask for prayer here on the live, but I do want to ask for prayer on two things. Like little bro knows, he's heard everything. And I'm sure even he is like, seriously? Like, is somebody mad because, somebody throwing a tantrum, with all the stuff that's going on. It's like when the little kid in your house, you tell them, you got to go take a nap, you can't play, and they, slamming things and doing all this stuff and crying uncontrollably. That's what the enemy looking like right now. So did want to go ahead and ask you guys over the next few days, please be in prayer, because the attacks are heavy. And I know nothing's going to derail what God has planned for this Sunday, but it would make it easier on the, to be fresh, to be 100% fresh. And I know God's going to provide it, so I'm not tripping on it, but prayers, intercession, goes a long way. So I really would appreciate it. And the other thing is, I don't know how many of y'all have seen on my story, at the church that I just left, the brother that's very, very close to me, that has been a huge testimony of somebody that, that has withstood all attacks of the enemy in terms of his health. He is currently fighting for his life. His name is Junior. He's Pastor Junior. He's fighting for his life. He's from here in Houston. He went to go take a trip to South Carolina to see a nephew of his graduate, and things went down with it, went south with his health, very rapidly. And the thing is, all the experts and everybody that's been dealing with him are here in Houston, and he's in South Carolina. For those of you that live in Houston, know that Houston is one of the major medical hubs in all of the world. I mean, you got princes from the world fly to Houston to get procedures done, to make sure that they're well. It's that level of treatment that and experience that you have here in Houston. And that's where he's not. He needed to be here and he's not, when this went down. Currently, it's looking extremely bleak. The doctors want to claim that the enemy works very interestingly. They won't claim that he's brain dead, but they want to say there's a very high chance that he might be, but they won't say 100%. They're not willing to say 100% because they don't know 100% that he is, because they can't tell. They just believe they see certain signs. And I know God has healed people from brain deadness, if that's even a word, from being brain dead, in the past. And we believe that he'll do it again. We believe his time is not up. We know that, he still has to see his son get married. We know that he still has to see his daughter go to go off to college and do much more. He's about my age, just slightly older. And so we know that we know God can do something, and this is not the end. So we just, we fight till the end. As children of God, we fight till the end. And until God says, nah, it's time, we will fight and we will intercede. So I really pray that that you guys will go ahead and put prayers up for Junior, for Pastor Junior, because it's a very difficult situation. And we know that God can, that God has the last say. So would appreciate the prayers there, for real, because, and I'm praying that we're going to see testimony, that it's not over with him, and that one day we'll be able to have him here on the live giving testimony that God got him out, God woke him up and got him out of that bed. So really appreciate the prayers in advance.
Yeah, that's deep. I remember when you told me about it, man. And we talk about it all the time, how we don't know what can happen eventually. So definitely we'll keep them in our prayers, and all else as well. And that goes for anyone that got anything going on. Like Pastor Carlos said, we'll definitely pray over you. Life is fragile, man. Like, you don't know what happens tomorrow, which is why we have to be very careful what we wish on others, especially in those moments when you're overwhelmed, upset, just in general. And even don't be so hard on yourself overall, because we tend to be real hard on ourselves. And just remind yourself that it's only so much you can do, right? Take control over the things you can control, and the things that you don't have control, just cross it out and don't give it any attention. Take it one day, one goal at a time. It's all we can do. Remember, stress does bring other problems, other conditions. It's only so much that our body can take. As many people know, everyone has a different level of capacity, right? There's so much I can handle and maybe Pastor Carlos can do, or vice versa. So we have to be extremely careful, and whenever someone comes to you for help, be mindful. Don't think that because you see things a certain way, they see it a certain way. Make sure that you're able to provide, because again, capacities are different in everyone. Not everyone will handle the same situation the same way. Just be mindful overall. You guys get it. I mean, I can keep going with examples. It's so much to think about. And even everything I just finished saying, I have to apply myself, to be honest. I really got to apply myself. But remember, one day, one goal at a time. All we need is patience and faith to continue to take on the daily tasks, the daily battles, to go on our day-to-day. Patience and faith is everything. And as long as we have our health, extremely grateful for it. You got to be extremely grateful. So I want to go ahead, before we end, to remind you, be grateful, be thankful, and practice gratitude on a daily basis, no matter what you got going on. And before we disconnect, I just want to remind you, we are connected every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast, every Thursday. This is episode 66. Next week, we'll have episode 67. Don't forget that I have the schedule live on my profile. When you click on the schedule live, you will be notified 2 days before, the day before, and the day of. I also posted on my story. You're able to click on it. You're able to get directly into the live. I have a solution-based community under my profile which I've been I started putting the link there today. You'll be able to click on the link and get into the live, or actually click on the link and schedule the live if I send it before. You know, make sure to join the community as well. There's been a lot of good things, just I tend to put messages there on a daily basis, making sure that everyone is stable, mentally, that's doing good mentally, just reminding you that you do matter, reminding you that if you're going through something, you're going to get out of it, you're going to break through. And I do this by sending messages, by putting the content there, just a message to give you that motivation and that inspiration to keep you going. And best believe that whatever I put in that chat, I follow it as well. It does apply to me. Because again, we're no gurus. We experience battles on a daily basis, and it's all about overcoming that battle. It's all about the victory, right? Glory to God, of course. But it's not about us getting ourselves out of it, but it's also getting other people out of it, out of those battles. If we didn't really care, we wouldn't be doing the live. If we didn't care, I wouldn't start a solution-based community. If we really didn't care or didn't apply everything that we discussed, Refinance Church wouldn't even exist. And everything that goes on behind the scenes that we really don't put out as of yet, it's major. All the way from the DMs, all the way from the conversations, all the way from what we do personally, from the bottom of our heart. I mean, we can be doing better things, right? That's what the average mindset has out there. You can be doing other things right now. Most likely washing dishes, handling chores, right? Watching TV, where you decided to be on this live. So big shout outs to everyone who joins us on Instagram. Big shout outs to everyone who joins us on Facebook and YouTube. Appreciate the engagement that we receive in the chat. Those who have joined the live to give their testimony. It's been major what's been happening and what we're going to continue to do, right? And again, this is not about us, Pastor Carlos and I alone. It's about us as a whole. Those who join the live, those who engage and are willing to add on and engage in the chat and give their testimony. Because remember, there's people out there who can relate to whatever situation you've been through or currently going through. And if you're looking for answers, you need the right people around you. If you're looking for solutions, you need the right messages. You need the right content. You need the right sources. Let's just say sources to cover everything to get you through. There's certain things that you have to stay away from, and there's certain things that you should bring into your life. And this is what we're here for. We're not selling you a course. Life does not come with a manual. We learn as we go, right? And when we're learning as we go, we continue to grow, right? And it's all about growth and development. It's all about healing. It's all about getting through. It's all about breaking through, not letting that obstacle or the attack or the enemy hold you down. Whatever happens in your life, always think to yourself, it could be worse. And if there's something that you consider that is worse, consider to be worse. Consider yourself lucky to still be here to deal with it, to get the chance to break through it, to get the chance to get yourself through it, to then get the next person through it. There's people who have plans for today who didn't even wake up. There's people who had plans for tomorrow, 2 years, 5 years from now, that are dealing with a condition that has them disabled, as you mentioned, Junior. You know, we all have a lot going on. We all have a lot going on. But just remember, it all starts today. Loving yourself more, loving others, making changes, forgiving, apologizing, taking the baby steps to get to that huge goal that you've been wanting to get to, whether it's getting a car, a house, meeting a special someone, a job, a hobby. Start today, because once again, tomorrow's not promised. Tomorrow's not promised. I really appreciate everyone who joined us tonight. Before we disconnect, also check the link in the bio. The link in the bio, we have an emailing list, text messaging list, where you're able to put your contact information, and we'll be able to notify you. We're not going to send any spam. We are going to notify you of any events that are going to take place in the future, any changes. That's pretty much it. And just simply staying connected. I also have the link for my YouTube channel, for our YouTube channel for this platform, which is where all the episodes go. As soon as the live is over, it's uploaded to YouTube. You have the opportunity, if you join the live halfway in or towards the end, to watch all the way from the beginning on YouTube. I have the link for my clothing brand. Please look out. It's been a lot of work being done behind the scenes, and eventually everyone will get to see the hard work that's been taking place, despite of any obstacles or anything else that we have going on in life. There's so much, but once again, one day and goal at a time. So really appreciate everyone who joined us. Don't miss out for next week, episode 67. We are on every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast.
Just
You want
appreciate
to go ahead and say,
again
Pastor
the
Carter,
prayers ahead
before
of
we
time.
disconnect?
Wishing y'all a blessed week. Again, any questions about Refiners Church, you can go ahead and send me the DM, and God willing, here in the next few weeks, we will have it so that you guys have somewhere to go on Sunday as well. So all in his timing. We've been obedient to what he's wanted to do up until this point. So the day he gives a go ahead that it's time to go online, we could do it already, but he's been very clear. It's not the time. He wants to build foundation right now. So with the people that are here, so that we can serve everybody else afterwards. So I don't believe it's going to be long, but soon enough, we'll make sure to share with you guys. So appreciate the prayers in advance.
Definitely. God's timing. God's timing. Leslie, I see she put, Tia put, God bless you both. Thank you, Tia. Bendición, Tia. Appreciate you. Love you.
It's
Leslie,
a blessing
thank
to
you
have
for
you.
always
Yeah.
allowing me to join and bring my testimonies. You bless us. You bless us as well with your testimonies. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Estrella, thank you. Thank you for joining and listening in. They also put praying for you and your son Leslie. Just
great.
trust and believe. Okay, so Leslie did get to see the message.
Jehovah Rapha, he's a healer. Amen. That's right. He is.
And love him.
So I know that will happen. You know, I'm expecting.
Yep.
Oh yeah, happy birthday in advance, Corinne.
Happy birthday, Corinne, by the way. Happy birthday. Yeah, in advance. I want to wish you the best always. Wish you the best always. And this is something from the bottom of my heart, like I wish everyone else. Wishing you the best always. Hope God continues to bless you with joy, happiness, success, patience, strength, which is what we need in these times. But aside from all that, health, because that's what really matters. Health over everything. Without health, there's nothing. So I really hope you enjoy your special day, your special month, the whole year, and many years after that. Many years after that. So definitely enjoy yourself, have a good time. And it's major because, like she said, the service is a day before her birthday. So 2 blessings in one. Let's go. Let's go. Sounds good. All right, so we're just about ready to disconnect. Once again, don't forget next week for episode 67, 8:30 p.m.
Right.
Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific
Blessings,
Time,
y'all.
West Coast. See you all next week. Take care.